couldn't be done uploading today because we are graced with the presence of the absolute stud. It's Jared. Jared, we have all been waiting intensely over the past week for this this storied matchup between you and Judah Buddha in the finals.
True.
We have been waiting for this. Oh boy, there's a but.
But I don't know. I feel like we need to prolong the cliffhanger a little longer because Judah's not here. And
that is true.
And, it would be like showing up to court and, well, the prosecution or the defense, one of them's not there. I don't know if that's legally acceptable. So, I don't know what I can really say about that. It might be better to just keep people on the hook a little bit longer.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, well,
I did have a good fantasy championship round overall. So I won my my main thing was I only had so I had 17 teams, all pay leagues, but most of them were $100 teams. Had a few $50 teams, and then I had a $250 team. And so my 250 team did win the championship. So that
nice, congratulations.
That makes a big difference in terms of profit because that's if you if you win your championship in that, then it's a $12.50 payout. So
wow,
yeah. So
congratulations.
Yahoo did its payouts on December 26th. So December 26th was really my Christmas this year.
Christmas after Christmas.
After Christmas, yeah.
Well, we also got a comment, apparently I just saw from our previous update 5 minutes ago, and Thomas H. took 7th in one league, 3rd in 2, and also took 1st in one of his leagues as well. So he sends his thank you to us as well. So
yeah, I was going to say,
congratulations.
I was going to say, I hope our advice helped him get 1st in that league and wasn't responsible for him placing lower in the other leagues.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, if you think about it, you have to win the 7th place, 3rd place, and 1st place games to get those positions. So he had to have a 4-0 week then.
3-0, that's true.
3-0, 4-0 week.
That's true.
Yeah.
I like, oddly enough, I think so. Like out of my 17 teams this year, that's something I was noticing too. Is I think maybe I had one that finished 7th or 8th, and then all the others were 6th or better. So so it was pretty consistent. So
yeah, that's nice. I feel like this last week, I don't even know, part of it for a couple of days, like I was just kind of out of it because I was super busy that weekend, and then I'm just looking. And so what was your reaction to last week? What was your reaction to last week's fantasy? Just what happened on the NFL?
Yeah, I've got to even kind of go back myself because there really was so much stuff going on because it was, the fact that it fell on Christmas week. It was kind of a tight little window there. So I'm just looking at kind of my own players. So, the Dolphins, So basically, like a lot of, I remember seeing like a headline from Yahoo or somebody on this too, is like basically a lot of the worst teams provided your best fantasy points.
Yeah.
And so like, so I was a little bit afraid that I was going to get burned by not starting Ryan Fitzpatrick in a couple of leagues because 32.66 points from Fitzmagic. In that one. But more importantly, I did win 2 championships with the help of my man, Devontae Parker, who I feel like we may need to go back to, we've gotten a lot of running back apologies from Judah this year.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe we need a wide receiver apology because he pretty heavily trashed Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
And Devontae Parker for those 2 playoff rounds had 21.2 points in the semis and 19.6 in the finals in half point PPR. So 40 plus.
Nice.
40 plus points over those two games. So that was
Very
that was
nice.
a big deal. Let's see, what else did we have here?
Well, I remember Judah Buddha said that the Jaguars were going to absolutely blow up, and that killed me in one league when Chark put up absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I was afraid that was going to happen because we had talked about we always joked about Chark Week,
yeah.
And Chark Week most of the time just didn't happen. He had that good start to the season, and then after that, he was, most of the time he just didn't show up that well. So, that was tough. Oh, but the Falcons, the Falcons did well too. So Devonta Freeman, he was huge for me. He helped win me a couple of leagues, 29.2 points.
Ooh, very nice.
That worked out well. So and then we had a couple of guys. I lost a third place game, and I'm sure a lot of people lost championships and stuff from Mike Boone and his bust.
Oh yeah.
So that was unfortunate.
Yeah, I remember actually on Monday night I was kind of the opposite. I had one game that I thought was completely out of reach that just happened to be a third place game against Judah Buddha in a league that neither of us really cared about. But Aaron Jones got me 27 points even, and I beat him by 0.12 to take third place.
That is tight. Yeah, Aaron Jones, I thought I had a comfortable lead in one of my leagues where I was playing in the championship. And so going into that last game, basically I had like a 30 or so point lead, and I still had Mike Boone going, and the other guy had Aaron Jones. And I was like, I'm good, and then it got pretty close, and I still won by 4 points, or like 3.9 or something. But that ended up being a lot closer than I wanted it to be.
Yeah, it worked out in my favor, though. It really worked out in my favor.
It did. That was the perfect amount of points for you. Yeah,
perfect. I haven't texted him to flaunt it over him yet, so I still need to get around to doing that.
Well, maybe just save it up. Like maybe we'll be back. Maybe we'll be back Tuesday. Tuesday night in our regular podcast, and that's really when we need to hash out what happened with a lot of these leagues that were, RotoHackers leagues.
Yeah.
So, I guess the other thing that was just a killer for some people is, you had some guys, you had some high profile busts like Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, man, DeAndre Hopkins. I expected better. Better. So, honestly, I think as much as I like Deshaun Watson, have sort of a little, loose personal or professional connection there, where I was sports editor for the paper where he was during his high school years. So, like I've always said, my claim to fame is going to be that I once put a cape on Deshaun Watson and stood around flapping it for a photo shoot. As much as I like Deshaun, and as much as good as he is as a real life quarterback, I'm going to strongly consider putting him on my do not draft list next year, because he's just too up and down. So you look at his final 6 weeks of the season, his point totals went, I'm just going to round off here. 5, 20, 28, 30, 19, 10. So a third of the time, and it's basically true for his season totals too, about a third of the time, he's just sort of being a bust for you, early on in the season, it was the same way. First 4 weeks, he basically had 32, 13, 26, 12. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you understand if a quarterback, has a bad game or a bad matchup or whatever. But I mean, for Deshaun to be as good as what he is and be throwing up routinely around a dozen points in about roughly a third of his games or so, man, it's just hard to take a risk on that upside, now with seeing what some of these other guys like, just Lamar's consistent, Patrick Mahomes is consistent. And so, and I thought about, like, knowing how he had been that way, I had thought about benching him for the semifinal game against Tennessee. But with Tampa, I thought, like, oh, Tampa's so bad. He'll be able to deliver against them. So, so I don't know. But that was unfortunate for a lot of owners. And on the other side too, Jameis Winston, he still ended up with 15, but that was not what a lot of people were needing out of him against that Houston secondary.
Yeah, another quarterback that kind of killed me near the end was Russell Wilson, who really tapered off by the end of the year because he started out getting 20-point games consistently, and then his last 5 went 10, 18, 11, 19, 10.
Yeah.
And that just completely shot me in the foot before I got Ryan Tannehill somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another reason I don't draft Russell Wilson. And I think I'm going to throw Deshaun into that same category where, I mean, if you catch him on the right day, they can give you 35 or 40 points. But they can also give you 10, and I just don't like players that are up and down that much. So,
yeah. Thomas H says that he needs to also give credit to Christian McCaffrey and Mark Andrews for winning his championship as a draft day steal. Yeah. Christian McCaffrey carried a lot of people.
So I had 5. I think I had 5 teams that won the championship. And had McCaffrey on 2 of those 5, and 2 out of my 3 teams that had him won the title. The other one finished 3rd, and it would have won the championship, but I just lost by like a couple of points in the semifinal round. So I mean, Christian McCaffrey was the one guy who, if you were loading him up, you had a really good shot at winning the championship.
Oh yeah. Also, Ryan N also won his championship. Hey. Congratulations, Ryan. Very happy for you. He says we should make some kind of Discord so we can talk about the draft, next year's draft, etc. with him over the season.
So I think
off season, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. So I think we're just going to keep going. We're still going to keep, I think as I understand it from what you and Judah have said, I think we're just going to still probably do one podcast each week. Probably not 2. There's probably not enough fantasy content, but I mean, and I imagine they'll be shorter. But this is just a way we can, still stay connected with everybody in the off season. And, I mean, you think about, so I think for the next, probably up through the Super Bowl, we'll probably talk some more daily fantasy, cause those contests will still be going. Then, we'll figure some stuff out, I'm sure, but Ryan, we'll still be around. We'll still be, broadcasting to kind of stay connected with people, and not just drop off for 5 months
off the face of the earth. Yeah. Also, credit to Thomas H and Ryan N. Y'all have stuck with us basically the entire year too. I mean, literally almost every episode, one of you guys is here. So thanks guys a lot. Even though I know Thomas H, obviously the Falcons fan, Ryan N, I know you're a Bucs fan. Apologies to your team. But I'm a Bears fan, and you're a Colts fan, so we're all kind of in the same boat here.
Well, and we, so normally it's us giving our takes on stuff, but I think we need, if Thomas H is still here, I think we need a quick take on on his thoughts on
boy.
Dan Quinn, on Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitri. I just laughed. I just saw that and laughed for a solid
Oh man.
maybe 60 seconds. I don't know. I just couldn't stop laughing.
Ouch. That's
I mean,
wrong.
not as like mocking Falcons fans or anything, but I'm just like, because I had said earlier, I was like, when they started to win a couple of these games, I said, watch Dan Quinn do just enough to save his job,
Yeah.
And I saw something from, I don't know if it was, there's so many sites and stuff out there nowadays. I forget which one it was. I think it might've been the Falcoholic blog, but talking about how basically Arthur Blank hates to fire people. And so when I was when I worked at the newspaper there, the Gainesville Times in Gainesville, Georgia, where the Falcons training camp is there in Flowery Branch, that was, so we would be out there a little bit, even though like high school and college sports were more of our thing, because we couldn't really compete with AJC, ESPN, all that in terms of Falcons coverage, but we did do some. And that was always like, from the people you'd talk to, the thing is that, Arthur Blank he just hates to fire people, and so Mike Smith was there a lot longer than he probably should have been. And even when Blank moved Rich McKay out of that GM position, he just moved him up to a higher position within the organization. And so if Thomas Dimitroff gets fired, he's probably going to get just like some sort of in title only position within the organization, because I think Blank is probably just a decent guy at heart, and he develops personal relationships with these guys, and he can't, he just doesn't want to fire him.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy, honestly, because you look at the coaches who are like on the hot seat starting at the beginning of the season, and Quinn, everyone knew he was absolutely just gonna be out. I think it was the 49ers game that pushed it over the edge, because it's like they'd been winning, but they beat the potential number 1 seed, and that was it. That did it in that he's staying. So how do you feel about that, living in Georgia and seeing Dan Quinn's back?
I mean, for me, it's just sort of entertainment, because I don't have any really once I started. I mean, I was frustrated with the Falcons, and I was a fan, but I'd only ever been to one game, and then especially then when I started working with them, when quote unquote, when I was at the paper where we were covering them, even if it was just a minimal amount, like they were difficult. They were just difficult about stuff. And so when something becomes a job for you and that organization is difficult, then you're like, okay, so, and you're already like sort of on the fence about them. And so then, like I said, I had a buddy who moved to Indiana, and I ended up, going to like 4 times as many Colts games as I had been to Falcons games. So I mean, with the Falcons, to me, there's hardly any sentimental attachment. Like I got to, I do really like Matt Ryan. Like I got to like kind of follow him around one day for a little article and talk to him.
Wow.
And that was fun. He was a super nice guy, genuine guy. So I would like to see Matt Ryan do well. But as far as the Falcons, no real attachment there.
And it appears that your Christmas wish has been granted. Thomas H. has left a comment about Dan Quinn. He says he's apparently been taking notes from Jason Garrett.
Yeah, there is probably maybe a little bit of a parallel there, I think, for Jerry Jones not wanting to, like, having a personal relationship with Jason Garrett and not wanting to fire Jason Garrett. Although with Jerry Jones, I think part of that too is he wants to run the show, and there's only like how many coaches are going to be comfortable just letting the owner be the real, I mean, the owner's always the boss, but typically they're like a hands-off boss. And Jerry Jones wants the credit for everything. He wants to be given the interviews. And, even most coaches, even if it's a first-year coach or something, they might be willing to put up with that initially. But as time goes on, and if they're having any success, they're not going to want to deal with that. So with Jerry Jones, I think it's as much about having somebody in there that can basically just be a puppet for him as it is about him like having a likable personal relationship with Jason Garrett. So,
sorry, go ahead, keep going.
No. I was just going to say, but yeah, I think the two situations are you can see some parallels there with Quinn.
Yeah. Also, when you look at like the one coach that he did like absolutely outright fired, Jimmy Johnson, they both had completely clashing personalities, and he was gone. It didn't matter that he won Super Bowls; he was just gone.
Right. That's it. And Jerry Jones even said later, I think that he didn't like Jimmy Johnson getting all the credit for it, and so it really is. It just comes down to, would you rather win or would you rather be in control? And Jerry Jones would rather be in control.
Yeah, which is funny because my mom is a Cowboys fan, and she continues to say that they're America's team and they're the best franchise. And I'm like, Mom, you haven't won anything for like 25, 30 years. And she's like, Jerry doesn't care.
Right.
It's the truth. It's the sad truth for the Cowboys, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think he wants to win, but when push comes to shove, it's just more important for him to be in control. He wants to win if he can do it and get the credit for it, because I mean, and at this point it would look, he'll never give that up, unless he just gets to the point where he's, incapable of running the team health wise, because how embarrassing would it look now after all these years of him running the team and not being able to succeed? How embarrassing would it be for someone to come in and then them succeed? I mean, then it's then immediately obvious that what was the problem here? It was Jerry Jones. So,
well, I think Judah Buddha, through some other YouTube channel, Reverse Redaction, I think I see his beard in the picture there. He says he says he made a lot of bad calls, but he did warn us about Deshaun. Watching the beginning of the year, remember that was one of our biggest arguments. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Sure. I think our thing is
I'm not gonna take this. My mentality is like, just let him have this one. It's been a hard week, I think, for him.
Foreshadowing.
We'll foreshadow a little bit there. Okay. No spoilers. That could mean anything.
Of course.
But we'll just let that one go. Yeah. But
I think one of the things that really did shock me, and really this killed me in one league, was I was really expecting, speaking of the Cowboys, I was really expecting them to have some urgency, and it didn't happen against the Eagles, and Amari Cooper put up 2 points against arguably the worst pass defense in the NFL, and he put up 2 points.
Also going on my do not draft list, Amari Cooper. And I had, I really was not intending to draft him this year, and then seeing what he did towards the end of the year last year, and him getting a lot of hype from some of the other analysts, I thought, like, okay, I'm gonna give him a shot again, because he was doing really well towards the end of last season. He was still boom or bust, but when he was booming, he was delivering you some massive games. And
he had a solid start to the year. First 5 weeks, he did well.
Yeah, but that was also when the Cowboys were playing no one,
That is true.
And with him, a lot of it goes down to like home road splits too, because he just he just doesn't seem to be a lot of the time, just the same player on the road. Maybe it's, I don't know if some of it was just not really the road as much as just matchups and stuff like that. But I just don't like inconsistent players. Amari's probably going on my do not draft list too.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not that I would never want these players in any capacity, but when I say do not draft, it's like I don't want them for where you're going to have to take them, Yeah. And so anyway.
You know what I did find shocking is out of the 5 touchdowns that Daniel Jones threw last week, none of them went to Darius Slayton, which I know we were saying that's not it. I mean, we were saying, I know for certain that we were thinking that, okay, you got Shepard, you got Tate, and you got Slayton. Someone's got to do well. And Cody Latimer caught a touchdown, and Slayton didn't even catch a pass.
Yeah.
I think that probably killed some people there.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Yeah. After he got, I didn't use Slayton in any leagues because, he only ended up with like 3 targets or so against, in the semi round. Of course, that was with Eli, but Washington's, I don't know. Washington had been weird. And so with all the like unknowns there, I just didn't use him. But yeah, that really was kind of I'm sure for a lot of people, a tough letdown. I think next year, like, this year, so for the past 2 years, we've had a quarterback breakout in his second season. Patrick Mahomes 2 years ago, and then Lamar this year, Patrick Mahomes, I guess 1 year ago, and Lamar this year. But so now people are like trying to identify, so who's the guy that's going to break out next year? And so a lot of people are going to Kyler Murray, I think I'm going to be probably taking more Daniel Jones because Murray's going to already the hype is building of, the mobile quarterback who can have a second year breakout. Cause we've seen that with a lot of guys. There's a pretty significant jump for a lot of quarterbacks from year 1 to year 2. I think even if you go back to like Carson Wentz, it was the same way. But like, I think Daniel Jones may be that guy next year because you look at some of the big games he's had, and he's had bad games. So, you don't know for sure, but Murray's size still worries me. I don't know what Arizona's going to do in terms of weapons in the offseason, but right now, I mean, they've got Christian Kirk. They've got a couple of guys like Isabella and I forget what the other guy's name is, but
50-year-old Larry Fitzgerald,
50-year-old Larry who may leave, who they may not bring back. But you look at Daniel Jones, he's got Saquon. He's going to have Sterling Shepard. If he stays healthy, he's going to have Tate. He's going to have Darius Slayton. He's occasionally going to have Evan Ingram. Your guy, Evan Ingram, who will play half the games maybe. And Daniel Jones is, he's got the big body. He's mobile. He's mobile too. So I think Daniel Jones is going to be a guy that I'm looking to take in a lot of later rounds next year.
Interesting. Yeah. Samuel Wilson, good to see you. Hope you won your fantasy championship. Good to see you. Ryan N says his only regret is that his league spot wasn't bigger. That's what they all say when they win. But congratulations all the same. Judah Buddha is dreading Tuesday. He is dreading it.
Again, no, but we don't know what that means though.
Of course, we don't know why.
That could mean anything, Yeah.
Anything, of course.
Yeah.
I do got to say, one of the things that really hurt later was Chris Carson leaving the Seahawks game early. That hurt me in quite a few places, having him leave the game.
Yeah, I think I was fortunate that I don't think it made any Let's see, it might have hurt me. And actually, I think it did cost me that third place game that I was talking about, where I didn't need that much. I just needed something from, I just needed, like, if either he or Boone had delivered like 5 more points, I could have won. But between Carson's injury and Boone busting, that cost me a third place game. But that was it. So, well, it was just a lot of things in that league. Like Deshaun, that was another league where I had Deshaun, and so it's basically like it had to be just this combination of the comedy of errors in order to lose that one. But that's what happens. So
I do think it's kind of interesting though that they brought back Marshawn Lynch for the playoff push Seattle. I know this completely isn't fantasy related, but what do you think about that? Him and Robert Turbin.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't know what Marshawn has left in the tank. I think the funniest thing that did come out of that was I saw somebody post a little mock interview between Marshawn and the Seahawks. Oh boy. As he was deciding whether or not to come back. And so it was like him basically saying, like, okay, fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. Oh, first and goal on the 1. Who gets the ball? Marshawn Lynch. and it's like, okay, second quarter of the NFC Championship. It's third and 5. Who gets the ball? Marshawn Lynch. And then it was like first and 37 from in the first round of the playoffs. Who gets the ball? Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch. Yep.
So I thought that was kind of funny, but that's I don't know. That is an interesting decision. You would think that there would be someone out there that would be like a better option than Marshawn. But I don't know. I mean, maybe maybe it works out. When he was healthy with the Raiders last year, he was still solid.
Decent.
But man, I don't know. That just feels like a steep drop from Carson and Penny down to present day Marshawn Lynch.
Turbin. Yeah. And I think the funniest thing is just that they're bringing back guys who formerly were Seahawks, which I think probably has something to do with it. Yeah. I remember seeing the notification. And I was just thinking, okay, who are they going to bring back next? Tavares Jackson? Right. Like, really? Right. Who's the next ex-Seahawk that's going to come in and fill in?
Doug Baldwin.
Doug Baldwin's coming
his
back.
His knee, he's had some time to work on that knee. I don't know if there was any repairing that knee, but maybe Doug Baldwin comes back. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, Math Quest came up short because of Boone. No.
I feel your pain on that, Math Quest. I needed 9 points from him, and so I thought, like, it's the Packers defense. He can get me 35 yards and a touchdown, And I will say, like, it wasn't. I don't know how much of it was Boone's fault, because the Vikings were just a disaster in that game. Yeah. They didn't get the ball. They got, like, Adam Thielen, and my condolences to anybody who started Adam Thielen, because if you think Mike Boone was bad, Adam Thielen ended up with 0.2 points. He had no catches on 4 targets, and he had a basically like a 2-yard end-around run. That was it. So he was terrible. Kirk Cousins just cannot play on Monday night. Yeah. He dropped to like an all-time worst 0-8, 0-9, something like that on Monday Night Football. Just good grief. And then the Vikings replaced Boone with Amir Abdullah. So it was, it was rough, and not that it really matters, because the result for us was still the same, but it wasn't like Boone just bombed himself on that. It was like the Vikings
imploded.
Comedy of errors. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember watching the game, and I remember watching part of it, and I was like, okay, it's still 17-10, because I came into the game thinking, okay, the Packers defense is not that good. And so I'm like, this could have playoff implications too. This could knock the Packers out from getting a good chance at a home field advantage spot as well for second round of the playoffs. And this fourth quarter, they just steamrolled over them.
Yeah.
And I was like, this either makes me think Kirk Cousins is cursed on Monday Night Football, or the Vikings are not going to go far in the playoffs either.
Right. Yeah. Both. Maybe both.
Maybe both. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was ugly though. I mean, they had, I think, three turnovers in that the Vikings got from the Packers in like Packers territory in the first half or something like that. And they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything with it. So, yeah.
Ryan N did say, by the way, that he almost lost his championship because Carson and Metcalf going up against the Colts. Yeah. That's rough. Hey, I mean, you still came out on top, though. You still came out on top. He says he's never playing in a league with team defenses again. Yikes. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, a lot of people want to do away with kickers, you know.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of there's a push, you know, to do away with the kicker position, but I don't know about like defenses. I haven't heard as much of a push for that. So I guess you'll have to do your own custom leagues on that one.
Yeah. Ah, boy. That's all the comments pretty much we got for now. You have any other not notices, but any other things that happened over the last week? I can't speak today. Any other thoughts from last week? There we go.
You know, Tyler Higbee has been like, it's going to be interesting to see the Rams next season, how they look and like what his role is, because Tyler Higbee over the last 4 games has 104 yards or more in 4 straight games. Wow. I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. I mean, he only has 1 touchdown in that span, but he's gotten, out of those 4 games, he's gotten double-digit targets in 3 out of 4, and again, 100 yards. I mean, those are, you know, if you were getting those from Travis Kelce, you'd be like, wow, that's, you know, this is a bump up from Kelce or something. So I'm curious to see, like, you know, what his role is going to be next year. I think there's going to be a lot of those Rams players that you're like, where do I draft this guy? You know, are we gonna get like back half of the season Todd Gurley, or are we gonna get front half of the season Todd Gurley? Cooper Kupp, are we gonna get front half of the season Cooper Kupp, or are we gonna get back half of the season Cooper Kupp? So I think going into next year, that one's gonna be kind of an interesting one. Let's see what else we got here. I'm just looking through. Nick Chubb was a bust against Baltimore. Which is not particularly all that surprising, except for the fact that, you know, he just ran wild against them in week 4. You know, he had 165 yards and 3 touchdowns, 37.8 points. And so you probably had some people going into that game thinking, oh, okay, he can deliver again. He's got their number. Yeah. And nope. How about you? Anything that stood out to you?
Well, I will say, if I watch one more Stephen A. Smith video about him and taunting the Dallas Cowboys, I am going to absolutely lose it.
Yeah, I actually watch. Have kind of this year gotten into not First Take a little bit, but it's whatever or Undisputed with
I love
Skip,
Undisputed
with Skip and Shannon. Somehow in some weird way, I find Shannon and Skip a lot less annoying than I find Stephen A. and Max Kellerman. I don't know why, because I like Skip I don't know. It's just something about, I think I get some sort of entertainment out of Shannon being able to tease Skip about that. Like with Stephen A, it's not the same. He doesn't have a Dallas Cowboys fan there to
taunt.
poke and prod. And so he's just kind of like shouting out into the void, but watching Skip Bayless suffer with the Cowboys, somehow that amuses me. So I do watch them. But yeah, Stephen A. Yeah, I just can't deal with Stephen A. anymore.
It's good entertainment at the very least. At the very least, it is.
Yeah. One other one from this weekend was we finally saw a reappearance for the first time in about 3 months from Alvin Kamara, from the Alvin Kamara that we know and love. He had 26 fantasy points. So, and that was really, he really didn't do anything that out of the ordinary, because he had about the same volume. He only had 11 rushes. He had 80 yards. And actually it's interesting because his 80 yards were the first, they were the most that he had since week 1.
Yeah.
So, 80 rushing yards. So, man, that was a tough season for Alvin Kamara owners, because you were expecting to get a top 3 or 4 back. There were, people arguing for how he should be the number 1 pick this year, because people thought with Ingram gone, he was going to be taking more of a load. Latavius Murray wouldn't get all of that Ingram share. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see where Kamara is drafted next year. If he falls far enough, then that could be a huge steal. But I have a feeling he probably won't drop that far. So where he gets his average draft position can either make him a huge steal or a huge risk. Like I think I would have a hard time taking him in, I don't know, probably the first 7 or 8 picks. Just not knowing, what's going to happen. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise guest who's not really a guest because he's normally here, but we present to you a new segment, On the Road with Judah Buddha.
On the road again.
Hi, good to see you, Judah Buddha. How are you?
Not too bad. I had to come in. You guys talk about my man Kamara, AK-47.
Captain Kamara.
So I lost the big news. I lost to both of you guys. I figured I'd come in and take the abuse now. But I won in my biggest league. Well, not the league I've been in the longest. I won with Kamara and Galladay, both getting me some big touchdown equity, and I somebody said they had DK Metcalf. Man, I was worried. Especially, I was worried at a point. Lamar Jackson had -1 point, and I was really expecting to lose big everywhere. But yeah, I had DK Metcalf. I had Chark too. I put Chark in. That was a bad call. But yeah. So anyhow, you guys go ahead and get your gloats out.
Okay.
Do you do this today, Jared? Do you want to do the whole story?
I just want to point out, I don't know what I really have to point this out though, is that in my league with Judah had a great team. He actually finished in the regular season standings. We had the same record, but he finished in first place based on he had he had like 40 more points than me. It was like 1705 to 1665. So then with the playoffs, his overall record was 12-4. His overall record was 12-4. That's a tremendously respectable record. Here's what I really enjoy, and what I think for this nickname that I've developed, although I kind of blush at, as the absolute stud of fantasy. But this here was a studly performance where Judah was 12-4. All of the other teams in the league combined to beat him once. 3 of his 4 losses were to me.
Oh, man. Wow, you are his kryptonite.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So, yeah, that was – so our game was – it was fairly close. It was let's see. It was 115-103 was the final. And so what carried me was Christian McCaffrey and Devonta Freeman, both of whom I traded for. I basically traded most of my team away to get Christian McCaffrey late in the season, and then I traded Connor. Who did I trade? I traded Connor and Philip Lindsay to get Galladay and Devonta Freeman. So that running back duo of Freeman and McCaffrey were what won it for me.
Very nice. So we got to get you wearing the glasses again next episode. We got to bust out the Men in Black glasses.
Right, the profile pic glasses. Yeah.
Exactly. We got to get you with that. Judah Buddha, since you're here,
we might have just lost him. He's probably driving through. He's probably driving through areas where he doesn't have a signal.
Yeah, he's not telling us, but he's heading into Area 51 right now. So he's on the road. Anyway, that's the shorter version of the relish. I'm sure we'll delve into this more when he's not on the road and he's back with us.
I don't know if he can handle that. I think he was just trying to come in today just to go ahead and get it over with. I don't know, but hey, it's gonna be a long off season. So
we can't let him off that easy.
Yeah.
Well, while we're here, MathQuest has got a question for us. Which rookies could potentially have a breakout year next season?
So I guess he means guys who were rookies
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like I mentioned with Daniel Jones, I think next year could be a breakout season for Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the wide receivers that I like as we got towards the end of the season, I was thinking about them having a breakout season next year. They already kind of started their breakout. AJ Brown was going to be a guy, the Titans receiver that, there he's back.
Sort of. Internet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So AJ Brown was going to be a guy. I mean, but now it's not like he's going to be a sleeper, really, because people are definitely aware of him.
What round do you think he's going to
go in? Fourth, maybe.
I could see him going there. Yeah. I think maybe 10-team leagues, maybe even early 5th round, maybe.
Yeah. It's hard to tell exactly. I haven't really sat down and done a top 50 or anything like that to really kind of figure all those out in my head. So it might be 5th. I would imagine. I think he's a guy that after the performances that he put up late in the season, you'll see some guys probably take him 3rd round, thinking that they're going to get, first round, maybe production or something. So,
yeah. Judah Buddha, what do you think? What rookies could potentially break out next season?
Rookies this year? Am I breaking up?
Yeah.
I am breaking
No, a little bit, but you're good.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello? We can hear you.
Little delay.
Just a little bit, yeah. Hello?
You know, my big question is if Hollywood performance, what is that going to mean for his draft? Because birds are go that curious how Hollywood Brown is going to end up. You know, how he does in the playoffs, because he could potentially be just as explosive as AJ.
AJ Brown.
What's his name? Brown. Yeah.
Brown.
AJ Brown.
Yeah. Another Brown.
Oh
Yep.
no, but what's Hollywood's name? Hollywood.
I agree.
Marquise
Brown.
Yeah. Okay, they're both Brown. Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
I gotta have to sign off here, so I don't get in a wreck.
All right. Good
Yeah,
to see you,
good.
Judah.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you Tuesday night.
Yep.
I appreciate your kind words, Jared, and we'll hash out more of my punishment. All right, bye guys.
Okay.
Okay.
See you later.
Bye. Yeah, we'll work on some more of that Tuesday night. Yeah. So a couple others just to go through a few, and then I'm gonna have to go to.
Yeah.
So I think there's some guys like one guy that I'll be interested to see what he does next year is your Chicago Bear, David Montgomery. Do the Bears have a better quarterback next year? A guy who can, be more of a consistent threat through the air, and that they can kind of get Montgomery going more. I think Montgomery could end up being sort of a steal potentially next year, but it all depends. It all depends on what Chicago does in the offseason.
Yeah.
Quarterback, offensive line, just scheming wise, all that. And I think there's going to be a couple of tight ends who are going to be potentially good picks next year. Rookie tight ends, TJ Hawkinson, who we talked about earlier this year. He had a huge game in week 1. Then he battled some injuries. He lost his quarterback, Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
And so then, so he was on IR from week, 14 on. He, after that week 1 blow up where he had 6 receptions for 131 yards and a touchdown, he only had 1 more touchdown the rest of the season. Oof. He never topped 60, never topped 56 yards again. Most of the time he was about 25 yards or below. So it ended up being sort of a tougher season for him. And then Noah Fant, the Broncos tight end.
Yeah.
He came on. He came on late in the season. He had a couple of 100+ yard games. Tight end's going to be a really interesting position next year because, this year we came into the season coming off of a season where you really had a big 3 of Kelsey, Kittle, and Ertz. And those were just the unquestioned guys the year before. This year, then we saw, Mark Andrews emerge. We saw, I've just got to go back and look and see at all the tight ends where they're finishing. Yeah, so we had Andrews, Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
He was big for most of the season. He kind of got hurt towards the end of the year, and so he missed a lot of time. But when he was going, he was, I think, tight end 1 for a long time. Then there's Higbee. So I think think tight end is going to be an interesting position this next year to see kind of where some of those guys are drafted and if it affects the value of some guys like Kelsey or Kittle, because do you still draft them that high when you might be able to get similar, very similar production a few rounds later? So we'll see.
Yeah, I think kind of tying into Noah Fant as well. One of the interesting ones is going to be Drew Lock too, to see how he does with the Broncos next year, because he's had himself the few games he's played, he hasn't been too bad, and it's going to be interesting to see how he progresses in year 2 as well.
Well, it's also going to be interesting to see what the Broncos do with their first round pick, because they're going to have a high pick, and just because they spent a second round pick on Drew Lock doesn't mean that they're not going to take a guy with their first round pick if somehow Tua slips a little bit, or if they really like Justin Herbert, or if they really like a Jacob Eason. So that won't necessarily prohibit them from taking one of those guys. I can't remember off the top of my head what where they're picking. Let's see. I'm just going to look at it while we're talking here, because I can't remember what number their pick is. So they've actually fallen down since they've won some lately. They've fallen down to the 11th pick. So right there, you're probably looking at more of a so you're probably looking at more of a Justin Herbert, maybe a Jacob Eason, somebody like that, if they wanted to make a pick there. But but it just kind of reminds me of the situation, years and years ago, where I think the previous year the Panthers had drafted Jimmy Clausen with a second round pick, and so then they had the number 1 pick. They had the opportunity to get Cam. Obviously, that's not the exact same situation, but I think it's comparable. So it'll be interesting to see if they stick with Locke, or if they ID a quarterback that they like and take him in the first round.
Yeah, I think also, depending on what happens with Georgia, how far Jake Fromm is going to fall too, because coming into this year, he's like Heisman prospect, but then Georgia had a rough end to the year, and so did he. Yeah. Depending on what happens with him, you never know where he's going to fall.
Right, and I don't even know. I wonder, especially with all these other guys coming out, Jordan Love coming out, Jacob Eason coming out. Does Fromm go back to school? Maybe, because it's starting to get a little bit crowded in that first round of quarterbacks. I mean, there's always a lot of teams that need a quarterback, but is Jake Fromm going to be better served hoping that he could have some sort of like Joe Burrow type resurgence next year? I don't know if that's going to happen, because it sounds like Georgia is probably going to stick with their offensive coordinator, which I think is a mistake probably. So it's a tough spot for Fromm, because if he comes back and he has another bad season, he could hurt himself even more. People could sort of write this season off as saying, well, he didn't have weapons and they played a conservative offense. And they could rely more on what he did from the previous 2 years. So it's a risk for him either way. I think he's the one that I've been most intrigued to see what he does. We'll see.
Yeah. To answer MathQuest's question, by the way, I think my biggest question for a rookie, this doesn't entirely answer your question, but the rookie I'm probably looking most forward to in the future is probably Deontay Johnson, because right now he's kind of sitting as like the number 1 in Pittsburgh's offense, which I'm very curious to see, because I literally laughed out loud because I wasn't watching the Steelers game when I got the notification that Mason Rudolph was coming in, and then 30 minutes later that he got injured and Duck Hodges is back in. And I laughed out loud because I'm like, this is what's happened to the Steelers quarterback position. So Ben's going to be back. Juju's probably still going to be there. What's going to happen to Deontay Johnson? I'm very, very curious to see what happens to him, what the Steelers are going to look like, because theoretically their defense should still be top 5 next year. So I think really it's going to be interesting to see where he falls in like the Steelers ranking order at the end of the year next year.
I agree. And with James Washington emerging late in the season, you've kind of got 3 guys who I don't know that any of them are our real number one. And so who's going to get the targets week to week? And the Steelers, that would be a tricky situation next year because you've got Ben. Ben's going to be another year older, and his body may start to break down. And if they don't,
if it hasn't already,
and if they don't get, sure, they have to do something like addressing another backup behind him, because we've seen what Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph are, and they're not it. And now I wonder how things would have been if they, I think they traded Josh Dobbs to the Jaguars.
Yeah, they did
at the start of the season. Could Josh Dobbs have been any worse than Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges? So it would have been interesting to see what their offense would look like if maybe they'd have had him instead of one of those guys. But Steelers next year, apart from drafting the defense, there's a lot of guys of a guy like Deontay Johnson or James Washington, you can take a later round flyer on and have some good upside. But how scared are you going to be to draft Juju? How scared are you going to be to draft James Conner, who's going on my he's on my do not draft list. No way am I touching him. Too injury prone. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do next year.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the AFC teams are interesting because also you've got the Raiders moving into year 3 with John Gruden, who are progressively getting better every year. See if Jacobs takes another step up. And then the Titans, because I am advocating that if Tannehill starts the year, he's looking absolutely amazing. MVP candidate, in my opinion. I'm very curious to see what the Titans do next year. You've got Henry at full health. You've got Tannehill coming back. You've got A.J. Brown. I think a lot of the AFC, almost like the teams are in the wild card hunt right now are going to be the most interesting teams to watch, both in the NFL and fantasy-wise, just to see how it's going to play out next year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. All right. I think that's going to have to be it for me today. I don't know if you're ready to sign off too.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done as well. I think you got any last words for us?
I don't think I have anything today. We didn't really do a lot for this week. I don't know if anybody's playing in week 17 leagues. If you are, you're insane. Lamar Jackson's not playing this week because everything's wrapped up for them. That's why you don't play. I guess maybe that's just my closing thing is this is why you don't play in week 17 leagues, is because players are going to sit if everything is wrapped up and there's nothing on the line. So if you're in any week 17 leagues, good luck. I'll probably roll out a few DFS lineups, but this week's so crazy I don't even know what I'll do with that. So good luck if you're in any week 17 leagues.
I am not, fortunately, but if anyone out there is, for sure, good luck. I don't play. I'm kind of with the same mentality as you. It's just if you have a good lineup with play. I think if you have Titans or something, Titans or Steelers, Steelers quote unquote, but Titans, Vikings, they still need to play because they still need to do well. But like you're saying, Ravens, Patriots, really, they don't really have anything to play for. So, I guess for anyone 17, this is for all the people that tried to burn me in week 15 with Lamar Jackson. But
yeah, right. Yeah.
Anyway, I think my thing's just going to be thanks to everyone tuning in this entire season. This has been great, and we're not done. But I just want to say thanks to everyone for tuning in as well. This has been incredible this entire season, I think, honestly. So
Yeah.
hopefully see you guys continually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so I guess we'll see y'all next week. Do you have anything planned over New Year's, or are you still going to be able to be on probably?
No, I'll still be on. I don't even know how the days fall. It's Tuesday.
Tuesday New Year's Eve. Tuesday's New Year's Eve.
I didn't even think about that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I'm still out. I'll still be out here in Arizona. So just visiting family, and I've got to be out here through Friday the 3rd, I think.
Okay, gotcha.
So had a relative pass away, and then they couldn't really do services.
Sorry.
Thank you. They couldn't really do services right away because it was just such a short turnaround before the holidays and stuff. And so I probably won't really do much of anything for New Year's. I'll just be kind of hanging out here. So I can probably broadcast if we're doing it Tuesday night, if Judah's not having some wild and crazy New Year's Eve where he's like riding the ball as it, drops from some location in Chicago or wherever. So we'll see. We'll just have to make sure. We'll have to make sure he's not out like celebrating his sorrows away, just like eagerly counting down for 2020, where 2020 is going to be the year where John Brown emerges as a true number one wide receiver. 2020 is going to be the year where he gets his first career win against me. Just all these sets, it's just going to be all these goals, that are going to feel good at the time. They're definitely not going to happen, but as he's setting them, they'll feel just great. It'll just be a great mindset going into 2020.
Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the RotoHackers Podcast. Hey, MathQuest buying a T-shirt this weekend. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for always tuning in as well. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Hey, be sure to remember that since you commented in this episode, we will be doing a drawing on the next episode for a free RotoHackers T-shirt. So MathQuest, you don't need to buy one just yet because you're in the running for getting a free one. Keep that in mind. So thank you all so much for tuning in to another edition of the RotoHackers Podcast. My name is AJ Herschel, also known as The Kid. Right over there, that's the wrong way. Right over there, that's the absolute stud that we already know. It's Jared, and for Judah Buddha, who's on the road, thank you all for tuning into another edition of the RotoHackers Podcast. We will see you next time.